Hello, and welcome to this special episode of Birthwords, which is a sneak peek into the in-depth workshop for birthworkers.
Welcome to Birthwords. Words are powerful. What are you doing with yours? In this podcast, birth doula and applied linguistics scholar Sarah Pixton invites you to be intentional, reflective, and empowering with your language as we come together to honor those who give birth. The work of Birthwords is to elevate the language surrounding pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum period. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as medical advice.
First up, I am interviewing Mary Kaplan of Your Family Doula, who is a doula serving Utah County. So Mary, I have a few questions for you about the workshop from the other weekend. My first question is, what surprised you the most about the full-day workshop?
One of the things that surprised me was that I learned about myself.
Ooh.
That was unexpected. And it also increased my community of colleagues who are passionate about improving the birth experience and whole perinatal journey. And that for me was just really, really fun. I really enjoyed my time there. It was a great day.
Yeah, I think that's so important to be able to have those connections in the birth community that you can build up. And it's a great opportunity to spend a day together.
Yes, that's great.
What was your favorite activity from the workshop, or your favorite section of it?
My favorite activity was the role playing and the skits. Those particular activities really helped deepen what I was learning and my understanding of it, and helped me practice how I could apply it and use it in different settings.
Cool. And what would you say was your biggest takeaway from your day at the workshop?
One of my takeaways was that I really want the intent and the form of my language, what I mean and how I say it, to align in all of my communication and all of my speaking, being able to better understand that. And I realized that when I'm intentional and I increase my understanding of words, I can do things with them. And I want to do that. I want to do that in my birth work. I want to do that in my life, but I want to be able to affect positive changes through my actions and my words. And I feel like this was a day that really gave me some skills and understanding to be able to do that.
Cool. I love that. I feel like, especially in the workshop you attended, we really hit that hard of talking about intent and form, and if they're aligned, and the power that can come when we're intentional with our words. So cool.
Yeah.
I was so happy that you were there, and I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to tell me about the things that you learned and enjoyed. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Sarah. It was great.
Next is Rochelle Jolly, a home birth midwife serving the greater Utah County area.
First of all, thank you so much for coming to the workshop. I was so grateful to have you there and to learn from your insights. It's always fun to learn from everybody.
Yeah, thank you for offering it.
Yeah.
It was fun.
My first question is, what surprised you the most about the workshop?
What surprised me is just the extent of information related to language that you shared. Like I said during the workshop, when I signed up for it, I thought, well, what is she going to talk about for 8 hours? And so it was very informative and educational and interesting, everything that you presented.
Good. That was a fun comment when you said that during the workshop. What are we going to do all day? But we kept going. We kept busy all day.
Yeah, and I enjoyed learning about, you mentioned about some different, a few different languages and how they have terms, or they term things differently, like I can't remember what people you were talking about, but where they refer to everything as north, south, east, and west, and it was just really enlightening to look at language in new perspectives that way.
Yeah, to really think about how it can shape the way you think about the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So what was your favorite activity that we did, or your favorite section from the workshop?
I don't remember what it was called, but I had so much fun doing the dialogue with the different faces or attitudes or whatever.
The contextualization cues.
Sure.
When you did the skits and you couldn't stop laughing.
Yes, that was so fun. I loved it.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch. That was a new thing I added I didn't have it in the first time I did this workshop and added it in this time. It's definitely a keeper. Everybody was having a lot of fun with just playing with the different ways that you can say something and how it makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
Cool. And what was your biggest takeaway from your day at the workshop?
Oh, my biggest takeaway, I love learning this new term, high responsibility instead of high risk. And I've been totally using that, and I love it.
Cool. Well, I can't take full credit for it. I got it from Dr. Sears, but I felt the same way when I read it in his book. I was like, yes, that is something that needs to be latched onto, because that's how we need to treat those situations where there's a higher chance that there could be certain things to be watched out for. So let's work all together as a team and really take responsibility.
And it really helps the client to see her role in it too. Like, it helps her to realize, oh, I need to take responsibility.
Yes.
You know?
For sure.
So I totally love it. Love that term.
All right. Thank you so much for coming and for sharing your thoughts. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This next interview clip is with Susie Hanig, a birth doula and massage therapist serving Utah County through her business, Birth and Body Care with Susie Faye. Welcome, Susie, to the podcast, and thanks for joining me at the workshop recently. I'm excited to talk with you a little bit about it.
Yeah, you too.
I wanted to know, what was surprising to you about the workshop? What was something that you didn't expect?
Two things came to mind. One is that one of the activities you had us do where we processed through some unresolved, process through some things, using some of the formula you had given us. And I thought that I had processed through the feelings and everything that went on with my second birth, mine personally of my son. And when I went through it in the context of words, essentially, the words and the assumptions that everybody made, I was surprised to learn that I still had some unresolved feelings with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that's really interesting in light of something I've talked about on this podcast before and have been thinking a lot about recently in my other work in linguistics, is that language is a mediational tool. Using words helps us, like you said, helps us process experiences, helps us learn new things, because it creates this bridge between what happened and what's happening inside of ourselves, and helps us kind of understand and come to terms with it. So I'm glad that was a useful tool to you, and hopefully one that you can keep coming back to with other things.
Yeah.
Learn and process.
And my second one was that I always have considered myself somebody who is the same, I speak the same to any group that I'm with. And I've kind of prided myself on that, because I feel like that's a mark of authenticity, which is really important to me. And you had us go through and basically reflect and say, how many language variations do you speak? What role do you fill with each one? And so I wrote down several and realized that, I speak differently at home with my kids than I do even just at home with my husband. And I hadn't really thought about it with words anyway.
Yeah. And
I hadn't thought about it this specifically.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
I was just going to say, with a client that wants a certain, a client that wants to go completely natural without any epidural, I will talk much differently to one that is planning for an epidural because I want to be sensitive to that. And that's right. Instead of me feeling like, oh, that's not authentic. It felt like, oh, this is still authentic, but yes, I do talk differently depending on who I'm talking to. And that's okay. That's right. Anyway,
go ahead. That's where I was hoping you were going to land, like that you were able to work past these feelings of inauthenticity and feel like, yeah, I should communicate differently with different people in which I play different roles and in which they need something different from me. So,
yeah, definitely.
Cool. Okay. So what was your favorite part of the workshop, your favorite activity that we did?
I really liked the contextualization cues game. I laughed a lot. And I even dog-eared it so that I could play it with my family.
Oh yeah.
And it was really helpful to just think of, I don't know, my body language and my voice inflection and all those things that I do when I'm with clients, and how much that in fact, I had a consult pretty soon after the workshop, and I was able to think about all of those things, like my, my body language and eye contact and, all of those little details. So it was really good.
Great. You won't be surprised to hear that Rochelle, who was your partner, also said that was her favorite activity. You two were cracking me up. You were just like busting up laughing the whole time. So it was really fun to see you learning about those contextualization cues, all the ways that we communicate that's not just with what we say, right? And having a really great time doing it. So that was fun for me to watch. Yeah. Okay, last question is, what was your biggest takeaway from the workshop?
Okay, so I had this feeling come to me before, I just told you that there was a consult I went to pretty soon after the workshop. So I had this feeling the morning before the consult that I feel like came from the workshop, and it was, you need to make eye contact more with your kids and clients. And I feel like, especially with my kids, I'll get to where I'm in the middle of something, like I'm washing dishes and they come up behind me and they can't just tell me about the Lego thing they made, they have to show me. And I've noticed that when I come down to their level and look in their eyes while they're telling me about something they're excited about, it actually turns into a connecting moment with us. Instead of just this passing moment in the day. It's like something that actually bound us together that day, that provides stability for both of us. So with this consult, I had this strong feeling come to me. You need to make eye contact and you need to offer touch. And you need to not bring a clipboard or a paper or a pen or anything to write down notes of all of the important things they're going to tell you. You need to just make eye contact and offer touch. And it was a really amazing experience following through on that. And the mom was very excited to get a sample shoulder rub. And it really helped us in the end to feel like her countenance was totally different from when we first started talking to after I was done with the shoulder rub. And the eye contact we made. And, it was really amazing from the first part of the consult to the end, how different she felt from the connection we had about me. She felt excited to hire me, and like we'd made a connection, and like we've made a new friend, and just like it was a really good experience. And I feel like a lot of it was from my takeaways from the workshop. So thank you, Sarah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I love everything you just said for so many reasons. One, because I could certainly stand to do the same thing with, the connection that comes through eye contact, something that is one of those extra verbal cues that we give, not what we say, but how we connect with our bodies. And I appreciate the reminder to do more myself. And I also love that you were able to apply it professionally and personally, because that's, I think, true, right? Like, it's not just that we communicate and use language with our clients. And although that is the focus of the workshop, I'm really glad that you were able to find other ways to apply it to your personal life, because it's super relevant to all aspects of life.
For sure.
And I love that story with your client too. Congratulations on that hire and that connection with that person. It sounds like you'll be a great fit for her.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be good.
Cool. Well, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk with me.
Thanks for talking to me.
And this last interview is with Jolanda Fredrickson, a Bradley Method childbirth instructor and also a doula and prenatal director of Aware Birth and Beyond in Davis County, Utah. Thanks, Jolanda, for joining me on the podcast today to talk a little bit about the workshop.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So glad to be here.
I was so glad to get to know you at the workshop, and I really appreciated a lot of the insights that you had throughout the workshop as you shared from your experience, both as a birth doula and a childbirth educator. There were so many great things that you contributed, so I'm really, really glad you came.
Yeah, thank you.
For today's little interview, I just wanted to ask you a few questions about what you learned and took away from the workshop. So the first question I have for you is, what surprised you most about the full day workshop?
Well, I think that it was such a great opportunity to get together. And I think it's kind of fun when you get people who are passionate about a certain topic. Yeah. I was like, okay, I don't really know how much content we were going to cover, but you had a lot of wonderful content prepared, and your manual is great. I was pleasantly surprised that we were able to get through all your information actually after all of the conversations that we had, and I was never bored. It was really great, and it did take up the time, and I was in a really enjoyable experience. I think that was, for me, that was wonderful. Not really surprising, but like an all-day class was just great, and it wasn't boring at any point. So, yeah, great job.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. And I really feel like this was a comment that some people made during the class of like, I kind of wondered what we were going to talk about all day. But I love just being able to go really deep on the topics that resonate with the group that's there. And then, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of content in the manual, and some of it we went deeper on, and some of it we kind of just touched on. And I really think that's a nice thing about having a live workshop and being able to dig into the things that really appeal to the people that are there and have all the content accessible. And then you can go back and look over it afterwards. So
that's right. And you did, I really enjoyed the way that you kept the class going and made sure we were able to, to get to the end of the book. So at least we had that introduction to everything. So I do appreciate that too.
Cool. Thank you. So tell me about all the things that you did. What was your favorite activity or section from the workshop?
I thought it was, well, it's hard to choose, but I really liked the activity with the passing paper around with words to pictures, just because it's kind of funny to see how that translates. And that was fun. I enjoyed that one.
That's one of my favorite games to play. And it's always good for a laugh and just helps you think more about like, in what ways do we communicate and what things are left out when we choose some ways to communicate and omit others. And mostly, yeah. And I tried really hard throughout the workshop to incorporate lots of those like active breaks where we weren't necessarily learning new content, but still doing meaningful activities that were fun and thought-provoking, but felt like a break from the brain work. So
yeah, and the other thing that was a close like second was you picked really good media, like to kind of drive a point home. I thought that was helpful to have little video clips when you shared those. They kind of helped think about something in a new way.
Yeah, I'm glad those were meaningful for you. Thanks for that feedback. My last question for you is, what was your biggest takeaway from your full day at the workshop?
Really, it was just how the way you deliver the message that you're intending can change the way it's received. Like, I think that was helpful just to see, making sure we're aligning the message we intend with the way that we're saying it so that it can come across as clearly as possible. That was great. And I've kind of mentioned that to people that I've spoken to just in the last, since we saw each other in the last week or two. And yeah, that was great. And so that's already been an influence in my life. So thank you for that.
Well, thanks again so much for coming and sharing your feedback and telling our listeners a little bit about what it was like so they can get an idea for themselves.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. And thank you so much for putting this on so we can learn more. And I hope that the next class goes great, just like ours did.
Thanks, Jolanda.
And that is a wrap. I would love to see you online or in person for the Birthwords in-depth workshop for Birthworkers. Go to birthwords.com/classes to register. And have a great week.
If you're interested in sharing your ideas or experiences on the podcast, go to birthwords.com. If you're liking what you hear, please leave a review on your podcast app. For more resources about language for a better birth, subscribe to the monthly newsletter at birthwords.com and follow Birthwords on Instagram and Facebook.